state funding, which is a significant incentive slash sanction. We've been joined by Melissa DeRosa, Secretary to the Governor.
Yes, Governor, what are your thoughts on a call for more civilian involvement in the police department, where they're handling either negotiations in communities or pure violence organizations like the police? Do you think there's a role for big participation there?
Look, I think it's a good question. I think there is. But what I think really isn't that important, the reason we say community by community is because the policing has to work for that community. Because it is a relationship. You know, what works as a relationship between two people doesn't work for another two people. The relationship in New York City is different than the relationship in Buffalo, is different than the relationship in Sands Point and Quag, right? The communities have different needs. The police are in a different position. So it's a relationship for that local community, and restore that relationship in your community. That's what we're really saying here. There is no one size fits all. I can't tell Quag what they should do, but Quag can sit down with their police in their community and decide what to do. And that reinvention, that really is saying, you have to look at the relationship all over again because it's not working. It's just not working. And you can't get a divorce, right? So we have to figure it out.
Minneapolis is looking for a divorce.
Who is, I'm sorry?
Minneapolis, they want to decertify the whole police.
Well, look, you can. I wouldn't consider that a divorce. You'd still have a police. I don't think it's practical that you can have a society without any public safety. You need public safety. Now, what is public safety 2020 may be different than what public safety was 1950. But you have to decide that, right?
Governor, you said it's a community by community issue, right? But isn't it possible that some communities, even dealing with their police department, could still be hostile to people of color? In other words, is this a reinvention, as you said, or is it more of a revision of the system that still may be problematic?
No, it's a reinvention. They can do whatever they want. You can sit down at the table and say, look, we used to have 100 cops. I think we should only have 10. I think that our police department doesn't reflect our community. And I think it has to be more diverse. You could say, I think half the functions should be given to civilians. You know, so you can, the police are paid for by the community. They're paid for by the taxpayer. They're not written into the Old Testament. The community pays for the police department that they want. So what police department do you want? Because you're paying for it, right? The police don't exist despite the community. It doesn't happen that way. You listen to some of this tension. The police are public servants. They do what the community wants them to do. I am a public servant. If the people of this state don't want a governor, they win. I don't win. I am a governor, period. You have to live with me. No, governor. You work for the people. And if the people don't want to have a governor, they won't have a governor. That's Minneapolis ended the police department. So, community, what do you want? Start with a blank piece of paper and tell me what you want.
But if a community might be hostile, let's say it's a wealthy community, it's hostile to people who are not as wealthy, wouldn't they then be working with the police to try to enforce against not as wealthy people in their policy?
Well, then two things. Then that, it has to go to that governing body in a county, let's say, and a county is a larger area, more diverse area with a legislative body that has more diversity to it, right? Nassau County Legislature, Suffolk County Legislature. In New York City, it would be the City Council. So you have a full legislative body that reviews it.
Governor, the
well, look, the bills that were on the table for the legislature that could pass and that I would sign, we just did, right? That was the whole point of the session that just happened. If a legislator had a proposal that didn't get passed, it didn't get passed. This says, rather than us trying to figure out in Albany, a one-size-fits-all for every police department, let's flip it. Every police department, sit down with your community. Who cares, what anybody else thinks? That police department has to work for that community. What are your concerns? What has gone wrong? And fix your problems with your police in your community. What the state can say is, but you really have to do it. You really have to do it. It's not, okay, sit down, have a conversation, and because it's a tough conversation, everybody walks away and then nothing happens, right? That happens too often in government. We'll have a commission, we'll do a report, we'll have an advisory board, we'll have a meeting. Yeah, I've had enough meetings in my life. I'm too old for a lot more meetings. So they have to have a plan by April 1, or you don't get state funding. Well, you have set standards, right? We have state laws, you have federal laws on what must be done by every police department. This would be above and beyond that. See, issues like, what should the citizen complaint mechanism be? Look, that can be one thing for New York City, it can be something else for Albany, it can be something else for Sands Point. It's whatever you want it to be. All the standards are set in federal law and state law. I mean, there's books of laws governing police conduct. This is going to be above and beyond that.
Governor, with the primaries less than 2 weeks away, do you plan making any endorsements soon? And do you support Congressman David Engel's endorsement in that?
I'm looking at a number of positions. I haven't taken any positions yet, but I'm considering them.
Governor, there was an essential worker who got arrested on his way home from work last Thursday in the Bronx. He spent the whole week in jail because of technical parole violations related to that arrest. Columbia University released a report earlier this year noting that the state's parole system suffers from structural racism. You've been governor for 9 years. Do you support current legislation that would reform the state's parole system? Why or why not?
Well, you'd have to see what the legislation says, what the reform is, and if it makes sense, I would consider it.
Governor, thank you. Many voices in the black community are raising the issue of making dismantling the union, the police union. I wonder what's your take on that, and even that the union sometimes use political contributions and that they have a lot of power. And the second question, you expressed from day one that you were with the protesters. Are you thinking that maybe you're going to attend one of the protests?
Okay, two things. First, on the police unions, when you talk about ending unions, that,
Police union.
yeah, I know, but that is a cruel irony. If you want to end police unions, do you want to end other public sector unions, right? What's the difference between the police union and the teachers union?
Police brutality.
Well, the police union argues for the police officers. I get nervous when you talk about ending unions, because unions were one of the great reforms for the middle class and working men and women. Does the police union have influence? Yes. But so does the teachers union and the private unions and every union. A politician, if a politician can't withstand pressure, and if a politician is folding to a union demand, then they are in the wrong business. Then they're in the wrong business. I understand the police union is powerful. There are many powerful unions. If you can't do the right thing, despite the political retaliation of a union, you shouldn't be in office. Let's take one more. Mr. Sif?
Yes, Governor, with half the state moving into phase 3, are you prepared to make a decision on sleepaway camps? In particular, in New York City, there was a protest in Williamsburg where the kids were out in the street saying, please, Governor, we want to go to sleepaway camp. You've already said day camps are okay. What about the kids?
This is what I want to say to you, as a member of the press, and all of you. You've sat here, most of you, for 102 days. We went from having the worst situation in the nation, the worst, to today, where we have the lowest transmission rate in the United States of America. Think about that. Take your journalistic hat off for a second. If I had sat here and told you on day one, 100 days from now, we're going to be the best in the country, you would have said, it's impossible. It's impossible. It happened because we were smart. I get all the pressure. I get the pressure on the summer camps. I get the pressure on the restaurants. I get the pressure that they want to go to high school graduation. I get the pressure. The reason we're here today is because we were smart. Let's keep making the decisions based on the data. Summer camps, we don't have a decision yet. They're congregate settings. There's congregate settings for young people. We just found out that there's now a new disease after being told COVID doesn't affect children, or now maybe it does, Kawasaki-like syndrome. It's an inflammatory disease. It can kill your child. You know, let's be smart. I understand everybody wants to do everything. I want to do everything. I want to do everything. But look at the progress we've made, and look at the trouble these other states are getting into. Look at the trouble. They're reopened, and now they're talking about closing again. That could happen to us. So let's be smart, please. Thank you, guys.